Please take a seat. Good evening, everyone. This is the meeting of the Mount Anthony Union High School District Number 14, our Board of Directors meeting on March 20, 2013. This is our reorganizational meeting tonight, so I am Assistant Superintendent Donna Leap, and I get to start the meeting because we will be electing our board officials this evening. Our first point of our agenda is to take nominations for the position of chairperson of our board, so we will be taking nominations now.
Could I nominate Sean Marie? I thought it was a full-time job.
I think it is a full-time job and a half.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations?
Move to close nominations.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain. Thank you. I really appreciate the support. And the next item will be to elect a vice chair. And you don't mind if I don't run that. Those different angles today. Mike, do you want me to move? You want her to sit? I'm good. So can I have nominations for the vice chair, please? Okay, don't all speak at once.
I'll nominate Leon Johnson.
Ed seconded that. Are there any other nominations? Tim, do you want to be the vice chair? You don't want to be the clerk, do you?
No, I don't want to be all right.
Okay, so we have a nomination for Leon. Are there any other nominations? Okay, a motion to close nominations?
So made.
All in favor of Leon being vice chair? Now, the one that everybody dislikes. Can I have a motion for the position of clerk? I help with that. And Richard is very reliable. He takes minutes from
I'll
tapes
nominate
and...
Dave Frederickson.
I'd like to decline on the reason of technological incompetence.
Okay. Dave Durfee, are you interested?
I would nominate Dave.
I'm already serving as clerk on another school board.
Ah, they got you there, okay. Nathan?
You can nominate Tim Holbrook.
All right, so I'll second the nomination for Tim Holbrook. You're very good at writing, that's one of your strengths. So, all in favor of Tim Holbrook as clerk? I think it's unanimous. Now, while we're on this, I'd like to have a motion to have the officers be able to sign a warrant in an off month or an extra warrant for a month, and usually that's the chair, the vice chair, and the clerk. Is that right, Rick? Do you have that, Richard? Yes. So can I have a motion
So
for that?
moved.
Thank you, Nelson. A second? Peter? All in favor? It's unanimous.
Do all three have to sign?
No,
Just one?
but you could make it two if you wanted. I mean, you could do
Anyone could do it?
any one of the three.
Okay.
So is it unanimous? Okay. So now what I'd like to do is actually, we have 2 student reps and we have 1 new board member, and I am going to ask Lisa Poplawski to make us nameplates. We did receive an email over the SVSU website saying that this person watches the board meetings but doesn't know who people are, and he would really appreciate having name tags so he would know who to write to or call. So I'm going to ask Lisa to do name tags. Now, on CAT TV, Mike, can we put names while people are speaking, or that's too complicated? We got 2 of you. No? Okay.
No, it's good.
You'll look into it? Thank you. So we'll do that for the next meeting. So I'd like to start over there. We're kind of intermingled board members and administrators. So Dave, would you like to start?
Yep, I'm Dave Durfee from Shaftesbury.
Sue McGuire, high school principal.
Tim Payne, middle school principal, and Rick Pembroke, central office.
Nelson Brownell Panel.
Thanks, sir.
Peter France, I live in Woodford.
Nathan Wallison from North Bennington.
Fran Kinney, Shasberry.
Leon Johnson, North End.
Ed Letourneau, Bennington.
Donna Leap, Assistant Superintendent.
Jim Surratt, Bennington.
Griffin Thomas, MAU student rep.
Dave Frederickson, Bennington.
Sean Marie Oler from Bennington.
Nathaniel Durfee, student rep.
Richard Bunk, recording secretary.
Then we have our CAT TV men. And in the audience, we have a few audience members tonight. They can introduce, Tom, you want to introduce yourself?
Tom Otero, high school physical education health teacher.
And then we have some parents and Jeannie Jenkins and the reporter and another student. So that's okay. Well, if they get up to speak, they will introduce themselves. Now, the next item, we need to elect 2 SU members and an alternate. The SVSU is now made up of 2 members from each district with a designated alternate that had passed through the state board in January, and it's taking effect going forward. So, I think, and Leon would like to be nominated?
I'd like to be nominated, yes.
So
Okay.
moved.
So, well, is anybody else interested? We do vote on them.
I'll do it again.
So you want to be the alternate?
Sure, I'll do
Okay.
the alternate.
So, I need a motion to the effect that Sean Marie and Leon will be the designated SVSU reps and Peter Franz will be the alternate.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Is it unanimous? Thank you. The Code of Ethics is the next on our agenda, and I'm going to wait a little further down. I have some corrections to it for us. And we do have public comments, and then we have Jeannie Jenkins. Jeannie, do you mind if the public comments go first? Okay, great. So, Melody, do you want to speak first? Sure. So if you come up here, this mic is actually for CAT TV. Melody is a parent that's asked to come before the board. Don't be nervous.
Okay. Not confrontational. So what brought me here, I'll give you a little background, is I have 4 children, but I have one that has dyscalculia, dyslexia, and ADHD. And originally in 2005, I had wanted him tested because I knew there was a problem. So I called superintendent's office several times, no return phone calls. So I took him to Mass General, had him tested. Then in Shaftesbury School, we had several IEP meetings, His education wasn't going very well. I had him retested at Dr. Stone up in Burlington. These are all at my cost. $2,500, $1,500. I had him retested in 2009, again, because he was regressing. He was not moving forward. And I had actually had him on IEP in Shaftesbury, and I hired out of my pocket. They recommended me to hire Charlie Barganian, who was a retired teacher from Shaftesbury. So I hired him as a tutor to come to our home, and tutor him in addition to what he was getting for services at Shaftesbury. And then we had a meeting in Shaftesbury in July, and the meeting minutes, I requested them, and they were completely untrue. It said that I had denied any math services for my son, which was completely untrue, because I have canceled checks to prove that I paid the tutor that they requested that I hired. And Kathy Buck was at these meetings. So then I had a mediation. I sent Kathy Buck after this minutes meeting in July. I sent her notice in August that I was pulling him from Shaftesbury. and I wanted a mediation. In the interim, I would pay for Long Trail School, and we would have a mediation. So we had a mediation on May 2010. After that mediation, I received no return calls back. The agreement against the law was never followed. I still have no phone calls back from Kathy Buck. I have left several, and I am still paying for my child out of district. So, I recently, finally, left her several calls to Catherine McClure. Since March 6th, I have called 10 times. And Sunday night, when I spoke with Catherine McClure, she did not have the record of the mediation that was not in my son's file. So I gave her copies this week, and I signed the copies, and I gave her the copies. And my son's record is completely missing from Shasberry School, so they could not forward that on either to any other school. So I need to come here because I don't know what to do at this point.
So Melody is here because her son is actually what would be a Mount Anthony age student. And my understanding was that Melody wanted a request tuition for the school that her son is currently at. Catherine McClure has been speaking with Melody and has actually requested the mediation papers that were not in the file at central office that Melody spoke about. And what I spoke to Catherine about, which she then spoke to Melody about, is the school choice that we have in Vermont, which Melody is aware of, that she could go to any public school in Vermont that she applied to, and we, as a school district, if her son had an IEP, we would pay for the special ed services. But that's not what Melody is seeking, I believe. She would like us to pay tuition for her son, which we don't have a policy that reflects paying tuition, just paying tuition for a student that's in, an out of a district placement. If we place the student there, the school district would pay for that out of district placement. So I know that Catherine has spoken to you about the process that you can contact Sue, who's, your son's a high school age now, right?
Yeah, he'll be in 10th grade this fall.
And we can try and expedite some of the process to see where he would fall right now. And then you can make a formal request to this board if you don't like the outcome of that. And then you can follow up with Sue and the superintendent and special ed services, but I'm sure the superintendent will.
Well, so far my experience with calls back have not been very good.
So I understand,
None.
and I'm really sorry that that has been the case. And we will try, as a board, we will try and follow up on this at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Sean
Dave?
Marie, I'm told that not getting a return phone call is not the exception. An awful lot of people have told me that. I was kind of shocked. I think that's really bad business.
Not only do you not get a call back, they don't have the paperwork, their paperwork, to show what you have agreed to.
So I would say that we can speak for MAU, and I believe that both our administrators are very good at returning phone calls. And Melody, this is Sue McGuire. Hi. Sue McGuire. And we can take that up at the SU meeting, but I believe
And I will
that
attend that SVSU meeting in addition.
we are
to
very
this.
receptive, and I do know that our administrators call people back.
Thank you.
Are there any other citizens' comments? Can you state your name for the record, please?
Can I just stay here or do I?
No, you need to come up.
My name is Tara Sky. I have a daughter at this school. I basically just wanted to ask a question regarding the bullying policy that's being adopted tonight and why it doesn't address teacher-to-student bullying.
I believe we have a separate policy for that, but I'm not 100% sure, and we can either take it up now, or we can, are you going to stay for the whole meeting? So when we get to that policy, Leon will look it up in the meantime, and we'll find an answer for that.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Lori?
Hi there, Lori Mulhern, Bennington resident. I also have a student in this school. I'm just coming to the board, as I have been to other boards, to just advocate for special needs students, and also to advocate for opening the lines of communication between each and every board with other boards, as well as with the educational central office, to provide some more clarity regarding communication. We suffer from non-return phone calls, lack of communication between staff, lack of training, all of these issues that have been brought to the forefront with recent events. And I'm here to sort of say to each and every board that we can't do this alone. We need your help. We have to change what's going on, and we can't do it alone because you're in the position to affect the change, whereas we can't. We don't have control over the policies, procedures without being allowed to have input. And there is a group called the Bennington CPAC that is out there. It stands for Special Education Parent Advisory Council, that has been formed in the community to help other parents and families deal with the challenges of having disabilities in their family and provide them with resources, as well as assist them in gaining the support that their student may need to be successful with their academics. So I just am asking the board to just join in and help us achieve this goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. And I just, you know, while you may not be an elected official, your voice matters, and all of the meetings that we have, as you know, are open and warmed, and if Richard is there, we keep excellent minutes, which you can correct even from time to time.
I have been known to do that. Thank you.
So, are there any other citizens' comments before I invite Jeannie up? I would like to introduce, I don't know this young man, and I'm going to put him on the spot. Would you like to come, I don't know your name even. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself and tell the board while you're here? I think it's great.
Hello, I'm Jacob Rantella from Boy Scout Troop 353. I am here on behalf of getting my Communications Merit Badge for Boy Scouts. It is the last Eagle required merit badge I need to obtain the rank of Eagle.
Wow. So, but tell us what you need to hear in the communication realm.
The last requirement is to go to a meeting and take notes on different opinions about one subject.
So we have to have different opinions tonight on a subject. Okay, you think we can do that, board? I really appreciate you standing up. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I think it's absolutely fabulous that you're here. And thanks for choosing our meeting. I hope we have some differing opinions for you. And Tom is here for the field trip that was added to the consent agenda, and he's said he's perfectly happy to wait to that part of the meeting. So, Jeannie? Donna, do you want to introduce how this came about?
And Jeannie might need to help me because there are so many economic development task forces that I think that we are working together on the education committee for, is that correct, Jeannie?
Workforce and education.
Workforce and education, perfect. And we have been working together. I've been to several of Jeannie's meetings, and they are taking on a terrific task of trying to bring together some of the businesses and organizations in the community with our schools to have a career week. And she is bringing some of the information to us tonight. Some of the business leaders and people from the community are going to be going into the schools, and this is during the first week of April. So, Jeannie, welcome, and thank you for starting this initiative, and really, you're the spark, and you've really been keeping it going, so it's great to have you here tonight.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Jeannie Jenkins. I am an academic coordinator at CCV, Community College of Vermont, and I am the chair of the Workforce and Education Committee, which is part of the Bennington Economic Development Task Force. And I just want to give you a little bit of that because, as Donna said, it's a bit complicated, but it's actually very exciting. The Bennington Economic Development Task Force is a collaboration of many business and education organizations, all having a similar goal, which is economic development. And it is really one of the first times that business and education have really sat down at the table together for a year and a half now to talk about how we influence each other and how we all work for the betterment of the community and economic and a strong economic development program here. So the idea of Career Week came out of the Workforce and Ed Committee, and the goal really was to have something that gave equal weight to business and education and informed each other. And so what I have given you, first of all, is a calendar of events. And on that, you will see that there are a wide range of activities and also a wide range of organizations that are involved. The SVSU has been integral to all of the activities on here, and Mount Anthony has been really fantastic. One of the events that you will see toward the bottom under SVSU events, you'll see local business leaders speak in senior seminar classes at MAU. That little line is a really massive undertaking. Kristen Harrington and Peter Odierna from the Bennington County Industrial Corporation have worked tirelessly to set up 50 business leaders to go into MAU senior seminar classes. So they are going in 5 days a week, April 1st through 5th, into every single seminar class. And that's really exciting. They're doing a 15-minute mini seminar where they're talking about career opportunities and the connection to education. And I just think that's fabulous. The middle school is also involved in this. They're doing surveys and setting up with their 7th graders and setting up their 8th graders to go over to the Career Development Center to explore careers. The elementary schools, you'll see Pownell Elementary is holding a career fair, which is fantastic. There are business tours, which the community is invited to attend. There are all kinds of activities, and there is a little more information for you on the blue sheet about all the various events that are happening during that week. You can learn to bake at Crazy Russian Girls. There are lots of opportunities. So that's one piece of it. The other thing that I just quickly wanted to share with you is on the flip side of the Career Week calendar of events is sort of the larger picture. And one of the things we wanted the community to be aware of is that Career Week is one piece of a lot of economic development activities in this community. So there are, there are education events on here, there are business events on here, there are joint events on here. And we do see Career Week as just, one tiny seed in a much larger picture. So I'm happy that Donna invited me to come talk to you because I really want to thank you. You've done a tremendous amount of work for this week, and I think it serves our students really well. Elementary, middle school, high school, and college. So I think this is very exciting. Any questions?
Are there any questions? I would actually, since you went through that so quickly, Jeannie sent an email to Sue McGuire, myself, and Catherine.
That's in my report.
Oh.
Be good. I've got it all set.
So we have to wait?
Yes.
Have to wait. That means
Sue's
Jeannie
numbers.
has to wait too?
I'm fine. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm really excited about what's happening. Have you had any experience with what is going on?
Not yet. I'm not sure. When are they going to be visiting the senior seminars?
April 1st through 3rd.
The whole week. One other exciting piece of this is Bailey O'Neill, who is an intern with Dawson, is an MAU intern, is, for the banner, will be hopefully one of the reporters covering Career Week.
In the last week in March, the students in senior seminar are preparing, they're going to do some preparation for this. Those plans just went out today.
Good.
Thank you, Jeannie.
You're very welcome.
Finance. Treasurer's report. We
need a motion just to accept the treasurer's report.
I have a motion to accept the treasurer's
So moved.
report. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Budget status report, Rick is here. He could answer any questions you might have on the budget status report. Seeing none, we will move on to, we already approved the officers to sign warrants. And can I have a motion to accept the new amended consent agenda? Did it make it all the way around? Oh, no?
I passed out, I needed another amendment. The electric bill came in after the warrants went out.
Okay.
So I want to get that paid, so that's what I passed out before, so.
Wants to add it to it.
I need to amend warrants to add the
Did it make it all, Richard, did you get a copy? It didn't make it all the way around.
Yeah, I ran out. I'll get you one.
All right, we'll
Voucher
just-
number 2011 for $21,732.17.
Here, it made it this far, so you can have Dave's.
How does that work? Do we have to make an official addition to the,
You just did.
to them?
Just as long as you're approving the new amended warning, including this voucher.
Including that voucher, very good.
So are there any, Mr. Otero is here because this is the first year that this trip that his team takes is been officially approved through us, so he just wanted to make sure that if there were any questions, that he was here to answer them, because we don't meet again until after spring break. So, you want to tell us a little bit about your trip?
Yeah, I've been the women's coach for be my 13th year this year, and this will be the 10th year that I've had the opportunity to take the women outside of Bennington to compete in scrimmage games with other sport teams from around the Northeast. We've been to Baltimore, we've been to Western New York, we've been to Long Island, we've been to Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. It's all through fundraising and individual contributions from the players. We try to incorporate educational aspect into this. Even though it's a sports athletic team, I think there's a big profit for us by doing that. One highlight of our trips is we were in D.C. one year, and I was able to get Bernie Sanders to take our team into his office in the Senate office chambers and sit down with our team for over 45 minutes just to talk to the girls about politics in Vermont, about the workings in D.C. Many girls didn't even know who he was and had never seen a senator. I've had players never been on a subway before.
He's quite a senator to see.
Yeah, he was great. He was really great. I've had girls that have never been on a subway before, have never been across the Delaware Memorial Bridge, have never seen dolphins in the ocean, have never even seen the ocean. And so we've been lucky enough to do this again, this will be my 10th year of doing this. We have some great competition. And as I said, we fund this totally through fundraising and through individual contributions of the girls. And I'm told from alumni that it is the best part of the entire season is this opportunity to get together as a team. And so I'm here for any questions if, again, being the first time that I've ever had to do this.
Tom, no question, but I think you should be commended for going the extra mile, and obviously it makes your team better, but it's a great experience for the girls, and I thank you.
I thank you. You're welcome.
So are there any questions on the consent agenda, the minutes?
The only
Go ahead.
thing on the trip, is everybody realizing this is Tom's first time looking at that. There's a section that we put in terms, and you spoke briefly to that effect. When we first started field trip initiations in terms of documenting policies and procedures in place for that, we, back in 1999 or something along that line, we added a section in the purpose of the trip and the assessment of that. And the board is really strong on trying to make sure that we get a thorough understanding of what the kids are expected to learn. It might be a lifelong learning experience in participating in a different environment, but we would like to have those kind of things put in there and all of them so that the kids will know that that is some expectation for them and what they expect to get out of this in terms of a goal or what they need to have for learning that's documented, and their parents will see that as well. So
At the previous meeting that I was at during, when we originally talked about this, it was addressed to me that some of the information concerning an athletic sport team was different than a educational field trip, and it was not applicable, and that's why I didn't fill in some of those things, because although it's an interscholastic extracurricular activity, it wasn't a true field trip, other than the fact we were going away with Mount Anthony students, and that's why that was put in there, because I was led to believe that I would just list it as not
Right, it's the
applicable.
same
we're
form,
bringing it
but-
up now so that whoever made that belief out here, that is not the case. Parents,
So Tom,
And this
you can
board
pass
knows.
on to other coaches that in this assessment box, just write life skills.
that's right.
Well, I can write a lot of stuff there, I was just following my directives.
Yep, that, I understand, because we did, it wasn't that we changed it, we just got, note last year that, you had, people driving Mount Anthony students, and we wanted to make sure that you were covered, the students were safe, that all of the same things we would do for any other field trip outside of Bennington, you know, in driving, were documented, as Leon had said, so.
Thank you very much for your time.
So we, so you, Leon's one person, but if he, you know, if he did have a say in the
That's a good
field.
question, though. That's a very, very good point.
So, are there any other questions on the consent agenda? Ed, I know you're new, and what we usually do is if you have any questions on the warrants, this is the time to ask them, or if
Well-
there's a question on a resignation or a nomination, this is the time that you could ask that question.
Since I haven't been able to access all of the information, I just want to abstain from the consent agenda.
Okay.
Because I haven't.
Well, actually, we'll talk about that in a second. So, are there any questions on the consent agenda?
I'll move to accept the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Or it's abstentions? One. Ed, what we do, these laptops are MAU laptops, and hopefully before April, we can arrange for you to receive one, and you can access, they'll set it up so you can access the internet in our buildings. I don't know what you do at CDC, but you,
Well, if I have that information, I can probably set up my own laptop.
okay. All right,
to
well, it's
Accomplish that.
Rick and then Peter.
First of all, I just wanted to congratulate the board on getting a successful budget passed. I wanted to welcome Ed, and I'd let you know that I usually do a Finance 101 course. Call my assistant Lori at 753-5840. Takes about an hour and a half. I can also make sure the techies are available at the same time if you want to just use your own laptop. I do have the computer, but if you don't want it or need it, we can give you all that configuration.
I figured we'd save the money.
Well, we already have it, so it's not.
It was purchased for the number of board members that we have.
It's not that I have to spend any more money, but, you know, set up a time, hour and a half. I give you an overview of all the finances and how it all works, and you won't understand it all by any stretch of the imagination in any 1 hour session, but it gets you
oriented.
It gives you a good foundation to start to understand it. So, welcome aboard, and look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Rick. Are the warrants signed?
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you. So the next on our agenda, we move, Jim, do you need to leave?
No.
Okay, so Sue, do you want to go first?
Okay, so just a couple things. One is that we finally got the official letter from NEASC that we were awarded school continued accreditation for the 10-year accreditation process. As you know, we've been working on that for about 2 years. We had the visit last spring, and now it's official. It means that we're accredited. We have a 2-year progress report in 2 years, and then a 5-year progress report, and then the cycle starts again in 10 years. The second thing I wanted to talk about was what Sean Ray was trying to steal my thunder there, and Jeannie can
It was
chime in on
Jeannie.
this. Well, Jeannie and I had actually emailed each other because I was wondering what she was going to speak about tonight. But it's interesting that a new education bill just passed through the Vermont Senate.
Now you're taking my
Called
report.
Flexible Pathways. And what it does is it expands options for students who want to enroll in college courses and still get high school credit for that. So it's a dual enrollment. And as I read this today, it's now heading to the House. As I read this today, I realized how far ahead the high school is around this. We have many opportunities for dual enrollment that are already happening. We have a dual enrollment opportunity with Vermont Technical College, where we have a calculus course taught by a professor at Vermont Technical College as well as one of our teachers, and the student gets both a college credit and a high school credit. We have a relationship with Williams, Bennington, and Southern Vermont College, where for $100 any of our students can take a college course and get dual enrollment credit. And one of our strongest relationships is actually with Jeannie at the Community College of Vermont, and she had sent, and chime in, but she had sent information.
Okay, come and tell us, Jeannie.
She had sent information saying that they've done 10 years of data, and that Mount Anthony is the top school out of the 16 top schools of sending kids to the community college to take classes for dual enrollment. And then in the last 10 years, we've had 463 students taking classes. And I don't know if you want to explain, you sent out a thing saying it's changed a little as far as it's actually increased.
Yeah.
To me, it will increase the number.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, one, I just want to underscore, I mean, Mount Anthony sends more students to take Introduction to College Studies than any other high school in the entire state. More students and at a higher rate. More students take dual enrollment courses after Intro to College Studies than any other high school. And if you look at it on a percentage rather than an absolute number, Mount Anthony still sends the largest number of students for dual enrollment. Our maybe 60 to 70% of the students that take Intro to College Studies have used their dual enrollment and voucher at Mount Anthony.
So explain what that means is they get a free voucher if they take Introduction to College Studies,
which is free.
Then they get a free voucher to take an additional class at the college that's part of the dual enrollment.
And that can be a 3-credit college course. 60 to 70% of the students who complete Intro to College Studies go on to use that voucher. Statewide, the average is between 40 and 50%. So that speaks very highly of guidance counselors here, of teachers, of support staff. Just, students are really being encouraged to think about college and take advantage of the opportunities they have. And I mean, it's kudos to all of you.
And what I like most is for those students who don't see themselves as a college student, and we get them to take a college class, and they begin to see themselves as a college student. And I think that's a really important
It's
piece.
incredible aspirations building, yeah. So what is changing this summer is that CCV is opening up the dual enrollment process so that any student that is graduating from high school this summer anywhere in Vermont can take a college class this summer for free. And that's a really wonderful opportunity for seniors. They can take that course and then transfer it on to another college if they're enrolling in the fall in a college. They can take it if they were trying to think about whether they wanted to go to college, and this is a time to try it out. I think it's, I'm hoping that students will take advantage of this, and, I think they will, just based on
what we're saying. And Jeannie's coming to meet with our counselors this week to explain all the changes so we can get this info out.
Yeah. So You know, so I'm really excited about this, but it is, Mount Anthony has really been a leader in dual enrollment over the years. We've been doing this for more than 10 years now, and Mount Anthony is the leader.
And every time I go upstate, I mention that. I mention that, especially when this bill was being spoken about. And now what the bill is going to do is going to allow 2 courses that they're going to, basically, the state's going to pay part of it, and the funding part hasn't been completely worked out. I think I sent most of the board members the article on Vermont Digger this morning on that dual enrollment bill. So thank you, Sue. Thank you, Jeannie. Any questions of Sue? Tim?
If I could, since I feel like I dominated the Education Committee earlier in the day, I wanted to take a chance to say thank you to a couple of organizations that have helped out at the middle school in the last month.
Go right ahead.
So
we don't have a policy about not thanking like the banner does.
I'll start with the Winter Carnival, which was Saturday, March 2nd. It was my first chance to experience that. And actually brought my family and had a really great time. My youngest won a free cake, so that was the high point of the morning. But I wanted to thank especially Diane Center and Dan Amadon. Diane Center runs the PTSA. She gives hours to this building. She will be going to the high school next year, which is a great loss for us, but she is truly a champion for this building. And Dan Amadon, who was the point person for the faculty, and I spent Friday evening with him putting up games and attractions for kids, and Saturday afternoon taking them down. He gave us hours and hours of time, and then today he was the most popular teacher at the faculty meeting as he brought a cake to thank all the teachers who showed up and participated. So I just want to thank both those individuals and the many parents and teachers who showed up to run games and sell food. We made more money this year than we have in the previous 2 years. Sold a ton of food, and we really appreciate the community coming out. I think we had a good day. It was kind of overcast and 40, and folks were looking for something indoors. Had a ton of little kids, and it was a lot of fun, and we look forward to it next year. I also want to thank Mike Joyce and the staff and the parents who took a group of our students to Montreal over the weekend. Got several pieces of feedback from parents who went on the trip and parents of kids who went on the trip. Had nothing but glowing things to say. A well-organized trip, well-behaved students. The number of things that they did in the less than 3 days that they were there, really impressive. And like I said, a number of parents the Monday after the trip coming into the building specifically to tell me how impressed they were with both the staff and the students, and they made us proud in Canada. So that was, I appreciate Mr. Joyce's time and effort, and I appreciate the adults who took the trip. And then the last thing, folks may have read about this in the banner, and we'll thank Dawson for that. Another reason to wake up in the morning is start your day with the Bennington banner. Ken Sullivan.
No advertising.
Oh, sorry. I'll see if I make his Twitter page later. Dr. Ken Sullivan of Chiro Med and Rehab here in Bennington made a very generous donation of exercise balls. These are they look like an oversized beach ball, but ours are a little strange. They have legs on the bottom of them to keep them from middle schoolers, herding them around the classroom. This has really been championed by Jeff Johnson and Tracy Galley, who are our wellness teachers here at the middle school. They have been very active, no pun intended, of getting into classrooms and helping teachers use brain breaks, getting kids up and moving around at periods of time to kind of reset the clock and get them into learning. They've been real champions of movement in the classroom, and not only in their own classroom, but also professionally developing other teachers in the building. So Dr. Sullivan's gift is very generous. It's being used right now in the 6th grade. Mrs. Shaughnessy's room, she's a math science teacher for Unkai. Went down there to see it. I already have teachers requesting exercise balls of their own. and I highly recommend them over the standard office chair for a variety of reasons. But again, I'd just like to thank Dr. Sullivan for his gift, and for Jeff Johnson and Tracy Galliano, job well done.
So do you have one of those? I know that when I came to visit in the summer, you had one at your desk.
I do. I do. I have poor posture, and an exercise ball keeps me attentive, so absolutely.
Well, thank you, Tim. Since we did do a little advertising there, I want to say that Mike Cutler told me that if somebody's watching and wants to know who was at the board meeting, that the Cat TV Facebook page has everybody's name. No, Cat TV. What? You better say it.
If anyone is interested in rewatching the video.
Oh.
To our YouTube channel.
Oh, the YouTube channel. See, I've got to get up on my technology. The YouTube channel. See, I should have skipped it. Thank you, Tim. Jim Morrison?
I did pass around some information. I generally try to come before the board in the spring when we're hoping that things turn green and kind of update you on how our heating season went. Our biomass system this year, we're expecting to burn about 855 tons of chips here at the middle school, and we're expecting about 1,245 to be consumed at the high school. That brings us up to 2,100 tons total for the MAU district. It's higher than it's been in the last several years, but we've run the equipment more efficiently, and we've run it longer this year, trying to get every dime of savings we can. I did do a conversion to oil, because everyone, whenever they ask about biomass, they are always curious as to how much money we're saving. Now, the saving is actually a bit of a misnomer, because we don't build our annual budget based on oil. We have, for the last 7 or 8 years, built it based on wood chips and oil. But this comparison shows you that if in fact we had been burning fuel oil at both of our schools without biomass, we would have consumed about 157,000 gallons of fuel oil at a cost of about $551,000. Running the biomass plant, we spent $140,700. So we realized a basic savings to the taxpayers in the district of over $400,000 in one heating season. So I think in this day and age, with the economy being the way it is, it's important for us to get the information out to the community that we in fact are really generating some good savings by running biomass.
Jim, I really appreciate that you pointing out that, you know, we can't save that every year because we count on that savings.
Right.
But I think the investment, the original investment, has well paid off from both the building when we built the school and the addition at the high school.
We actually had done a study on how quickly the high school unit paid back. And of course, that was partially covered by the state.
90%.
In 90% were their incentive programs.
We still haven't been paid for it all.
Almost.
But had that incentive been paid correctly, we would have been free and clear in about 18 months on that particular unit. And so there is a huge payback.
Jim,
go ahead.
Jim, on the biomass units, are they higher maintenance than an oil burner would be?
Not necessarily. You have some level of maintenance simply because you have to clean the what's left for ash out, and we do it depending on the amount of chips we're burning through in a week. We generally shut down for about a 3-hour period during the week. It's about an hour and a half on a Tuesday and an hour and a half on a Friday, if we're consistently running every day. And we've been up and running at both schools since early October, and are projecting, looking forward a couple of weeks at the weather, we'll be running into the middle of April. It's been a longer heating season than, actually I looked at the weather charts, and last year on the first day of spring, it was 78 degrees here.
This morning too, it was 80 degrees.
A little different this year.
So it isn't really, and just one other question on that, do we anticipate any major expenses? Do we have to replace burners or grates or anything else in those systems?
They're relatively low maintenance. The problem is that when you do have an issue, they're difficult to deal with because the parts come in from Michigan, they're generally expensive, but we've had virtually no problems. Belts, a couple of motors, a couple of bearings, and the equipment here now is 8 years old, and the high school is going on 6 years, 6 full years. So we've got 14 years of runtime on that equipment. I also, just for the board's information, I have several times wrestled with contracting out some of the grounds work that we do during the winter, and I kept very close track this year of where we went. And we actually recorded 31 incidents when we had to clear snow, ice, sleet, whatever. And we've gone through 42 tons of salt at this point at $60 a ton, and we're averaging usually, and this figure covers both schools. So we're clearing parking and walking in doorways for 150,000 square foot building and a 225,000 square foot building. And once you do all the math on it, although it looks like $14,800 has been spent in labor, and that may seem high, but if you look at the number of incidents, it averages out to about $500 a storm. And in looking at contractual services, you cannot come close to completely servicing both buildings for $500 per storm. I didn't get all the numbers together, but you're way higher than that amount of money. We also have some information on the Aero lighting retrofit that we did at the high school 2 years ago. We've been trying to track a full year of electrical consumption, and Efficiency Vermont had estimated that we would be saving between $12,000 and $14,000 a year in electrical consumption, and we're actually, at this point, we're very close to that number this year. The previous period we looked at was a little convoluted because of Irene and because of the strike and a number of other things that threw the general building use out of the norm. But the lighting work that we did is beginning to pay off as well. So.
Thank you. Any questions of Leon?
I don't have a question, but I do know that this is very timely for Jim. I was, in the last couple of weeks, I've had a numerous of town and people to ask, do we look at the cost comparison in terms of the use of the wood chip system and so forth over here. So this will make a good article for the banner to let everybody know that this is what's actually happening out here in Sabin. So I did inform them that periodically you inform the board of these savings and things along this line. So now you have an opportunity to let a lot more of them know about it.
The state of Vermont Department of Forests and Parks tracks all of the biomass in the whole state, and they have a big late January annual meeting where everybody puts all their data together, and they look at all the schools and the state office buildings, and there's several hospitals now running, and so they throughout the state. The data is relatively close.
Right.
Thank you, Jim.
I just have a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
I noticed in the warrants there was a charge for propane fuel. Is that being used as a preheating system for the wood boilers or something else?
Propane, we heat, one of the buildings is propane heated. The student center building is propane heated.
Okay.
We also use propane to pre-ignite the oil boilers when they run.
Okay.
There's several issues where we use the kitchen here at the middle school is all propane.
Okay. just trying to educate myself. And one more quick question. For the hours that were saved with the snow and ice removal, are these regular time hours or were they overtime?
It's a combination.
Okay.
A lot of that work is an overtime rate. That's why the hourly, it's kind of a massaged figure.
Understood. Thank you.
Another question? That's it? Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. So we're going to move on to the student representatives' reports. I don't know which one of you is reporting.
Spotlight.
Uh-huh.
Do I need to stand up to do this?
No?
Well, tomorrow, the New England Music Festival is going on. We have people, I think, 5 boys, I think, are going for singing, and then at least 1 girl. So we've got a pretty good group going there this year. And they'll be gone for tomorrow and maybe Friday, I'm not sure. I don't think so, though. And recently we had a dodgeball tournament. The Student Senate put on a dodgeball tournament. That went very well. We had 18 teams in it and went very smoothly.
That was a record 18 teams. We had
Record
both
18
faculty and
teams.
students participating, so it was
Okay, so how many on a team?
6.
6 people, yes. We had a very large amount of people in this. And it took some planning, but we got through it. Next Monday, most sports teams are starting up. I know track is, I think baseball is. Not sure about some of the other ones, but I think that's the official start of the season. Coming up on April 6th and 7th, I think, the chorus is going to New Jersey, and we're performing Les Mis there, and then we're coming back and doing the same show here. So that would be an interesting thing to see. You should come and see that. Not sure on the dates of when it's here, but it's 6th and 7th in New Jersey. If anybody wants to make that long drive. And the Student Senate is doing a March Madness food drive that we've done in past years. It's always been really good. Everybody has a lot of fun, and we always make a lot of food off of it. And I can't think of anything else.
How about the Pops concert that you were in?
Oh, Pops
Oh, yeah.
concert, yeah. That was last week. It went very well. People enjoyed it. Had a pretty good crowd.
Pictures will be on the website. We had a photographer there, so you'll see it. We're getting them ready.
Actually, I talked to Sue after the Pops concert, and she told me that after seeing the Pops concert, it always reminds her why she's a principal. Do you have something to add to that? I would actually like to add that Griffin is going to be honored at the, let me see if I get this right, the Vermont League, New England League of Middle Schools for, he's going to be honored on this Friday, and, okay, for his work on bullying and school culture conference for educators on your anti-bullying work, right?
Yes.
So I'm very proud of him, and you're still doing the statewide anti-bullying?
Yes, I do. We just had a meeting.
So I think this next conversation will be interesting, because I know Leon's been looking while I've been looking to answer Ms. Skye's question, because we have 4 different types of policies on harassment and bullying. And I'm hoping Leon found the answer that we might be looking for, but I'm not sure. So are there any questions of our student reps? I do want to also mention upstate that the student rep on the state board, who's a junior to be a senior, has proposed legislation that every school board have a school board member, or have a student rep member. And again, this idea of voting has come up. And what we do at the state board level is that we have a junior and a senior, and the senior member gets to vote, and the junior member doesn't get to vote. But there has been some controversy around the state over students voting, so I'm not sure where it will lead. But we certainly value your opinion, so. So the next item on the agenda is the committee reports, and we have, Nathan, how's the Ag Committee coming along?
Due to scheduling difficulties, there was no meeting this month, I guess, is that right? And so we'll have a meeting the first Wednesday of next month. And Helen Field recently emailed us that she's applied for a $3,500 grant, which she's pretty sure we'll get. And I guess people are starting to think about what seeds they're gonna put in the ground.
And where's the composting initiative? And since Jim is here, he might be able to answer that question.
I have not heard an update since Helen reported to us that she had met with Tam. And that was at our January meeting, I think.
So Tim, is there any small composting going on?
Actually, I have a meeting on my calendar. Compost reminds me 10:30 tomorrow with Helen to update. So I, like Jim, am aware she had visitors. She had Tam in the building, and they were going to follow up with next steps. So I'll know more as a result of tomorrow's.
There was some effort to start doing some composting pickup in the building, but
I do think they legislated something last year about composting pickup, like that it might someday become something we have to do.
I think we're in a holding pattern, waiting to see how the Bennington composting site goes.
Okay.
I think there was quite a bit in this application that Helen Field just submitted about composting, because I recall now there's some specifics about the size of the bins and that sort of thing.
Okay,
So
great.
I think that's moving along there.
And typically, when do you meet? Wednesday?
First Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. Any questions of Nathan? Next committee report is education. Griffin or Ken?
Well, we met just before this meeting, and we had an update on the new class starting January of next year on finance and civics. We had an update on the agricultural program, proposed sharing between the CDC and the middle school here. And we reviewed the goal number 4 for Mount Anthony Board, which is basically to attract all the 6th grade students from the surrounding areas to Mount Anthony Middle School. At the present time, only Bennington is participating, and it's been on the bottom of that sheet for about 6-7 years now, and group decided that we're going to have Mr. Payne write something different, more something that we can reach, and hopefully by September 14, 15 year, that we can at least get the bell schedule times synchronized for 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and everything right there, and then hopefully the following year, we can bring together, again, this is the goal, maybe the languages, flexibility with math and science classes, art and music classes, and maybe athletics as well.
Thank you, Ken. Griffin, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that covers it.
Great. Tim, finance?
Just have one motion. I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommendation from the administration for the application for use of school buildings and grounds as presented to the Finance Committee at an earlier meeting.
So moved.
Second.
And where could a citizen find that information if
Well, it's
we...
going to be on the web. Is it already there or not?
I haven't seen it yet.
It will be on the web soon.
The building use form is actually available electronically now.
It is.
And
So will this be updated to that?
Yes.
Okay.
And if there's anyone that needs any information, they can either call the middle school and speak to Roxy Blow, or call the high school and ask for the activities office, and they'll get Bridget Worthington.
Thank you.
But they should be tied together now. The process of having, I mentioned earlier that that's a policy out there for building use. And so this is administrative regs piece that went with that actually has those figures. And I think normally when you put those and post those, this is a link that just says that going back and forth to let everybody know that we have a building use policy, and this is just a procedure that you do all of these things.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second on the floor? Any discussion? All, did we do that? All in favor? Richard, do you know what that motion is?
Yes.
Was it unanimous? Fran? Okay. Tim, I'd like to add something for the next Finance Committee meeting. We've talked about this a couple times, but I would like to see us address this budget transfer request for these small amounts from the principals. I think we need to try and alter, I understand why they're there, but I think we're the only board that does that for these small amounts. I mean, I've seen them for $50, $1,000. I think that we need to take a look at this, whatever policy or
We can take a look at
procedure.
it. Just so if anybody's interested, what Sean Marie is talking about is that we have the voters approve a bottom line budget, and that budget is designed in such a way that there are many different line items to that budget. And because we don't want to overspend line items, we often will transfer an expense from one line item to another line item. We keep a record of it so that we know when we're preparing the budget the next year, but it's just the way that our accountants feel that we should be doing that. So, and what you would like to see is what, Sean Marie?
Well, I'd like to know what the other districts don't. I don't think the other districts have the board do it. I think they have the administrators at the building levels do it. And if we want to put on a certain dollar amount, if it's 20,000 or whatever they feel is reasonable.
We'll take a look at it.
And then the other thing is I'd like to see a follow-up on the, we, at one point, Rick had presented one of the middle school teachers who's no longer here, like a debit card for using their what's the word I'm looking for? The line in the budget that's their supplies that they would have for a program. And instead of writing checks, and I think this would be particularly helpful at the athletic level, to be able to use those debit cards.
Yeah, we can bring it up again. We have talked about that in the past. There's been some real concern about having a bunch of cards floating
I would
around.
have a concern. I would have a concern how to.
Yeah, it's just,
handle
this is the way that it's settled now is it's a much more centralized system, so that the administration, the central administration knows what's happening, so there isn't duplications and things like that. But we can certainly take a look at it. I know that we have discussed this in the past, and it was felt by the administration as well as the business office that the merits of the program didn't outweigh the difficulties.
Okay, thank you. Leon?
I just wanted to say, those cards are wonderful. I remember, I was one of those guys. They're tied to an individual, and you use them, and everything that go on that card, that individual is responsible for it. And so it just makes life easier, and I was asking that we try that a long time ago, that we institute and have cards.
I mean, as you know, many of you know, you can program them with certain codes that you can't use them in a restaurant. You can't use them in the grocery store. I mean, they're really, you can really hone them down to where you can use them. And they're specific to the dollar amount that's been budgeted. It's not, you know, a bottomless anyway. So that's my request.
We can certainly take a look at it.
All right, so, Fran, has SVSU met since MAU met? Because we switched dates.
The only thing I remember, no, I don't believe so.
Because we switched with SVSU to do the 3rd, and they were the 4th, so we're...
Right. The last thing we had was the presentation from Maura Hart.
Right.
I thought that was MAU. Wasn't it? Or maybe it was SVSU.
Well, it was actually SVSU, but mostly MAU.
Many meetings.
So the SVSU meets a week from tonight.
You're losing it, you know that.
Thank you.
Okay, Leon, policies. So I've looked up 5003, which is what we're adopting.
Right.
And I've looked up 4003.
So let's take care of the policy, the business tonight.
Would you like to come up and ask your questions, Tara?
Well, I mean, you can ask the question. I know what the question is, but I'm saying we have on the agenda policy 5003.
Okay, and her question is?
It's not related to this policy, so you want to do that, or you want to ask the question?
No, her question is related to this policy, but it may be in another policy.
The question, go ahead.
I just didn't know why it didn't address teacher to student bullying.
Okay. We have an adult policy, policy 5003.
No, 4003.
4003. The student one specifically that we talked about and that we put in place is the 5003. When it came to the adults, we wanted to make sure we spell out the environment for adults on adults. But they're doing the conversation and the development of the policy out there. Both policies speak to the fact that no bullying is allowed by anyone, really, out here. In the particular policy, in the adult one, section C, that talks about the reporting of bullying. And so all individual adults or anyone that witnessed that as such is taking on a bullying conversation from somebody that said that this has happened has a right to report that. And that's the teachers' responsibility, or adults in the area responsible to report that. And they can take it from a student, they can take it from another adult. We don't have a policy that specifically headline bullying student, teacher, teacher, student. We have adults and then we have students.
I just feel like that leaves a gap for...
And if it is, we'd like to know what that gap is that we think that allows something to take place within the school system that these don't address. And I'd be more than happy to hear what those are.
Well, I had a specific instance this year with what I felt was a teacher being violent and bullying towards my daughter. And I feel like the policy, as I read it in its entirety, seems to address a student bullying another student, or a student essentially bullying a teacher, and then the adult policy is adult bullying another adult. There's really nothing that speaks to a teacher using bullying language, behavior to a student.
We had conversation, and teachers are professional individuals, and I'll have that go back to administration in terms of the requirement and the qualification for being teachers in terms of management. That we didn't think we need to put something in there to say teacher student. We put adults to adults, and then we put students, but then everybody that feels that way. If you felt that way, and I don't normally address things directly, all you have to do is report that to the building administrator, and there's a method of getting that taken care of.
So I think specifically, and I don't know if Lori just showed it to you, but in 4003, which is the adult one, it says, it requires teachers and other staff who witness acts of bullying or receive student reports
That's correct.
of bullying.
I think the student reports, though, are reflective of when students report bullying to adults. I don't feel that it's very specific.
So what we can...
That's what Tara's trying to say. I think that in the 4003, you see it is bullying of an adult is in the first sentence of the policy, section A. The student policy is about students bullying adults, students bullying other students. And I think that it just presents, it lacks clarity with that. We understand that there's licensing regulations that they should be following. We understand that there's policies that should be common sense. However, when it's not outlined specifically, it kind of leaves a little bit of a gap.
So it's up to the board. The board can...
Go to the policy committee, I guess.
Okay, well, we can adopt policy 5003, and Leon can put 4004 on the policy committee's list. And basically in the beginning of that, it says that bullying is a form of dangerous and disrespectful behavior that will not be permitted or tolerated. So I think that policy can then address or put a line in there that this is in reference to any bullying towards, whichever way you want to write it.
We'll review it with the committee and see whether we want to make changes in that manner. But I'm just saying here that we have it in there, and maybe we have a method for gathering that information. And so whether we want to change every policy we have in peace, we'll look at it and see.
So the policy meeting meets on the fourth Wednesday of every month, and those agendas are posted as well.
Then I just had one other question. If it stands as it is now, the policy for a parent reporting a teacher for bullying behavior is stand at what? Just to report it to the building administrator?
Yep.
And then what happens? Because it seems it's spelled out in there that you have, there's a series of things that happens as far as an investigation, as far as, and obviously there's a personnel issue then when you, I'm not able to have any sort of, nobody can give me a personnel answer.
That's correct.
That's on a personnel level. So but if it was another student, there's a part in there that talks about breaking confidentiality to speak to the findings of the investigation, which isn't addressed when it's a teacher on a student, so that's my question.
Nelson?
I don't know how complicated you want to make it, but it sounds to me like where it talks about adult to adult or any of the two, what you should have something, if you're going to rely on the administrative and the policy that's set for hiring process or an employee and how they work, it should spell that out in there. It should have something in there that says if it's an employee of the place, like a teacher, if you want a professional employee to be handled different, then say that and say that it will fall underneath these rules. Right now, it's blank, is
Right,
what
so-
I'm hearing.
And I think, and I'm on the website right now, and the handbook is old, but there is a handbook for teachers. So I mean, it's the board's pleasure if they want to adopt 5003. I think the request has been made to put 4003 up for discussion on your list of policies to look at. So is there a motion to accept 5003, adopt 5003? Peter? Leon? Is there any other discussion? All in favor? Now, would you like to tell us what you're doing with anti-bullying upstate?
So currently, we have 3 different subcommittees, a research and data team that was not able to meet this month, but we had a personnel training committee that was able to meet and is going to be focusing on working with bus companies throughout the state on training bus drivers in the coming, I think, in the next 6 months on different techniques to handle bullying, how to combat it, how to recognize it, and what the proper way to report it would be. And so we're currently trying to work on different groups that come in, different ways to pay for these conferences. And so right now I think they're working with Burlington's busing company, and I brought up DO4, and so they're going to be in contact with DO4 as well. I'm serving on the student leadership committee, which is how students can be more involved in their own schools. And I brought up the last MAU meeting that they're working on developing a conference. And so we're still working on that development piece. And not much has come recently. There's a lot of logistical pieces that we're moving around right now to see. But it looks like it's probably going to be sometime in the spring of next year. And we're hoping it's just going to be a day conference and be hosted, I'm hoping, at Castleton, so it'd be easy for Mount Anthony students to attend. So that's really what we're working on right now. We have another meeting coming up, I think, either in April or early May.
And the School Boards Association has invited board chairs and current student board members to a meeting this Friday from 9:30 to 1:30. And in talking with the other student rep at the state level, we talked to the School Boards Association about how that was really not a particularly good time to have board chairs and student reps head up to Montpelier on a school day. So they do have a few coming, but the student rep from the state board suggested a Saturday and having somebody sponsor it so that, there was more going on, and I did mention that to Harry Frank, and so did the student rep. There was a lot of students performed their poetry and a number of things up at the State House last week. Ken was there, I was there, Catherine was there, I think Rick was there, and it was really great to see the students performing. So, thank you, Griffin and Nathaniel, for your contribution for us, older generation Fran?
Can you elaborate, Sean Marie, on where we're at? Is 4003, the bullying policy, going to be brought to the policy committee?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just didn't know if she knew that or...
Did you understand that?
That 4003 would
4003 would go to the policy committee to be looked at or reviewed is what I guess we call it. Did you have a comment or question?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'd just like to know, I've seen those handbooks and such, having worked in various different corporations.
I'm sorry, could you say your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Dawn Backer. So I think the guidelines for proper behavior, et cetera, by teachers, employees is wonderful. However, what I haven't heard yet is what are the exact consequences if somebody fails to follow those guidelines? I hear a lot of, oh, we should review it, we should talk about it, we'll talk to the person, we'll do this, that, the other thing. Haven't heard any actual consequences.
So what happens with these policies is they are in fact policies, and then there's a second piece that put the procedures or the regulations that go along with that. So when you review a policy, the administration reviews the regulations, and in a case like that, I'm not sure how specific it would be in a handbook for consequences for an adult. That handbook is also being reviewed. Donna, do you want to speak to that?
I think that, as with student bullying, there would be a progressive discipline where you would have some specific guidelines, a rubric perhaps, of what would happen at each instance, like the first incident, this would happen, the second incident, this would happen, and each one getting a more serious consequence.
And would that be available to parents and other people with interest?
No, the policy and the procedures would be, but the action specific to that personnel person may not be.
But is not the handbook available?
Right, I'm saying the
handbook
handbook is available, and the discipline actions might be available written, but it may not.
Individual personnel is
Right, but I'm saying may, I'm not saying will, I'm just saying it may not be, according to law, that would be public information. Just like student information wouldn't be public information.
Right, but a parent would have to know, and a student would have to know, if you break this policy or this rule or whatever, such and such will happen, just like regular laws. If you break a law, there are statutes.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Okay. I just haven't figured out exactly what the consequences are.
Well, we don't
especially
have
because
them with us right now, and that's why I can't answer you specifically, because none of us have it with us.
Okay.
So, I mean, the old handbook is available on the website under personnel, I mean, in terms of what we're expecting of our staff, but I haven't reviewed it in a long time, and I know that it is at central office up for review by one of the attorneys that is hired to look over some of our personnel policies.
Okay, so you understand the concern that if
Yeah.
you're, as a parent,
Yeah.
if it's a repeated offense, you would
I
wonder.
totally do.
Okay.
And I think that what we're trying to say is that there are consequences, there are procedures, but none of us can answer that question specifically tonight.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. Where are we? Superintendent's report.
Oh, good. I just wanted to report briefly, and I think that all of the reports that we had tonight from the principals and from Jim and from our education committee really point to the fact that we have such wonderful things going on in our schools, and a lot to be proud of. And I am following up. We have found a professional photographer, thanks to Sean Marie, that we are going to start making the rounds. We're going to the high school Friday morning to take some photographs that we are going to be using in brochures that we are putting together, and some regular ads that we're going to be putting into the Bennington banner. The banner has offered us a space that we are going to put in regular spots on some of the terrific things that are going on in our school. So Friday morning, I'm going to start to make the rounds with the photographer. I might see you too, Tim, somewhere along the line. And we will eventually get to all the schools and be sharing the good information that we have coming out of our schools, like we heard tonight. We also have Laura Boudreau is working on putting some brochures together about each school to share with the community, specifically with real estate agents and other businesses, to encourage people about our schools in the community and to highlight some of the good things that we're doing. And we are also going to be working with a few individuals who would be willing to speak and have themselves filmed or interviewed to share the good word with people moving into our community, very specific contacts. For instance, people that are looking for jobs here or would want to know more about the community. So just in an attempt to do some positive PR. And I just wanted to conclude by saying we have the calendar tonight, right? Jean Marie, did you have the copy?
The 13-14 calendar is just going around.
It has been approved by all the other school district regions and the CDC, so that is, and approved by the SVSU, so that is.
So you can make your vacations for next year.
You can make your vacation plans, that's right. It's also coming by email to you, so I think you have it by now, so. So that's all I have for tonight.
Do we have any questions for Donna?
Comment. We gotta do a better job on that, calling people back and answering the phone and such. I don't get out much, but I got hammered on that one, and it's just not real good business.
That's not good business.
Definitely not. So under my report, under Chair's report, what's going around is a couple of things. There's a committee assignment request form and suggestions for agenda items or committee items that you, or agenda items that you'd like to see at the committee level. You'll see on, I'm also sending around, can I see yours for a minute? The 2013 list of board members. It's alphabetical. Nelson, you're at the top. It has the terms expired on the right. If I made any mistakes, Peter, yours is the Gmail finally. It is. At the back, I have both the student reps' email addresses. I hope that's okay. No phone numbers. The main office phone number, Donna Leap's administrative assistant's phone number, Sue's phone number, Tim's phone number. Jim, I didn't put yours on there. And then the SVSU committees are listed in the back, and you can fill in the SVSU reps because they were blank when I made this up, so.
Did it stop, Jean Marie?
What? Did it stop? Ken!
Come on.
Yeah.
One of us thinking on your feet.
Leon?
It went fast. Donna mentioned, and I think about, the boards are not voting on this calendar.
No, this is approved. No,
Okay,
for
so
your
that was just-
information, it has been approved.
Right. Well, I was just want to say, because the CDC didn't vote on it.
Yes,
No,
it was presented at their board
Right,
one
but
day.
it wasn't a vote to accept it,
No.
is what I'm saying. That's all.
They don't really need to.
But they were at the table when it was developed.
That's right, and so I was wanting to make sure that it's not something that goes around to each one of the districts and they vote on it. It's what I.
It doesn't have to be approved by every district, but the committee involves all the people who are involved with the calendar.
So you'll see that then I am actually going to ask this board, even though I think it's really important that we review the code of ethics. There's a couple things in rereading this since it was posted that I realized that, at least on the first page under Board Administration Relations, the hold the superintendent accountable for jointly creating job performance standards, at least annually performance a comprehensive evaluation process. This is actually an SU function. So it really doesn't belong on the Mount Anthony Board Code of Ethics. The other is the conflict of interest. If you look at we've done a lot of work here, as Fran knows, on this conflict of interest policy. And I don't think it really reflects what we have as a policy, nor does under bullet 3, number 3. According to the law, you actually cannot receive regular salary as a board member, and this should actually not be on there. We can receive our stipend that we get, but this is not, this contradicts what, I just think that in order for us to really take this seriously, I just would like a few things reviewed. It's also not the Department of Education anymore, it's the Agency of Education. So I I have a copy here, if you would actually like to make even corrections or our own comments to our own specific board, we can do that for the next meeting, so if you want to pass that around. So I am not going to ask us to sign it, even though I have a nice piece of bonded white paper to sign, to put in central office. We're going to do it next time. We'll have to make the corrections. So I hope that's all right. I just don't want to have people sign something that isn't really true. We do need an executive session for, what's on the agenda? Personnel and contractual matters. And Richard, it will be short, and then we will be making a motion. Ken?
I just want to announce to everybody on Tuesday, April 9th, VSBA, Vermont School Board Association, will come down and do a training session for new board members and refresher for old board members. So keep that date, Tuesday the 9th of April.
So, and...
Also in the legislature, looks like the Senate already passed agency fee, and looks like it's going on to the legislature, and it's pretty good. So you understand, agency fee means every teacher, whether they want to join the union or not, would have to pay the fee, 85% of the full amount.
And our dues, the dues here currently are over $600. Couple other pieces of legislation is that dual enrollment, personalized learning plans, also allowing students to graduate early. Who?
You had a question? Yeah, she's right in the middle of something now.
That's okay, Peter?
Yeah, a couple of things. A number of us are having a problem getting access to the MAU site here.
From here?
From here. I can get it on the home computer, but I can't access it through this laptop, no matter where it is. And there's a number of other people too.
Yeah.
What's the process? Do we have to drop them off at central office?
Well, if we could get,
or what?
I had the same problem, and Frank Barnes was here the other day, and he was able to take care of it. Now I can get on just fine. So
Well, that's fine, but-
So it can be done, so maybe we could either ask a tech to come here
Yes.
and do that, or
Yeah,
Frank or
that's
somebody.
Or if it's easy enough, have them email it, something we can do ourselves.
Right, well, I could actually ask one of the tech people to be here at 6:45 next meeting, and that way we can get Ed set up and...
Yeah, it's, I don't know what he
It's
did, but it
frustrating.
works.
Well, that's fine. It just
Yeah.
seems it won't go past a certain
Yeah,
point in
right.
time
I had the same
chronologically
problem.
to access this
But
stuff.
it can be done.
Are you stuck on the last year? Because I had that problem when I
No,
came
actually,
here.
tonight I was able to get into there because I went through a couple of different routes.
That's what I did. I went,
But I shouldn't have to do that.
right.
The other thing is with these email addresses, it'd be really nice if people have concerns and stuff to email the board members with questions, pro or con, or issues or whatever, so that we know a little bit, so that sometimes it won't get to the point where they have to come, constituents
So-
have to come to a board meeting to bring an issue up.
So I guess what I'm going to ask this board is, I've asked the central office to list everybody's name and their SVSU email address. So in other words, it says, F. at SVSU, but it actually is forwarded to your Gmail account.
Fine, yeah.
And if everybody is okay with that, I'm going to actually insist that all of our emails are up there for people to access.
But the thing of it is as board members, if we get notified of issues, we can bring them to the board if needed, or
I would hope
find the
I would be
answer.
called first, so I could try to address something
Well, that may be.
before
Then
it
would
jumps.
be forwarded to you. I'm just
That's all I
saying,
ask.
we never hear from a lot of
Right.
people until sometimes it gets to a,
And then if we don't do what we need to do.
Right.
I was gonna say
Leon?
that we may be getting into a little bit, a dual hat situation as a public elected personnel. You wanna be accessible to individuals as an individual. But when it comes to this board, we have information requirements under the policy that require the information to go to the chair for review before it gets disseminated and brought up and addressed to the board, except for open, for the open comment section which we take information from the public and we're supposed to listen for that information and not really supposed to carry on a dialogue at that particular time. So we hear public comments and the chair is supposed to address those things by assigning certain portions of that to a particular administrator or board or whatever in that manner. So the individual board members should not be taking a lot of information management and having one-on-one dialogue with individuals concerning something, because we have no responsibility and no power as an individual. Only at this meeting when we meet here as a board that we can do these things.
So actually, that brings up a point, is that the SVSU is going to, administration and board chairs are going to do training for better, 1 year board members and new board members, and I was hoping to have it before April 9th, but Catherine thought maybe if April 9th was a more generic overview of what's expected of board members in a more general sense, and then have a more specific one where Rick could go over, the account numbers and the finance part, and Catherine and Donna could do something else. So I think it's in the works, and but I do think that it's fine for our email addresses to be out there. I agree that, we can't solve anything, but we can send them to the person that it's supposed to be. No, you can't?
Just like the federal government. I mean, you can email your congressman, he can't do anything alone. I mean, you have to go through, theoretically.
Well, I think if somebody sends me something, what I'm going to do is send it to the chair with a copy to the person that sends it to me, saying, and the chair will address it. I think that's, the proper way. The chair has to bring it up to the board or put it on the agenda to discuss it.
Okay, speaking of which, did the letter go around from BSD?
Yes.
So that was given to me yesterday, and that will be on our next agenda for April. I don't know if I have a copy.
I just have a question on that. Ken, was the purpose of that letter to have a joint meeting or to have an MAU discuss it and get back to you, or what?
To get some ideas. We're going to be all set next year. We rearranged the...
Do you have the letter?
Right there. Just looking for solutions for the bubble starting the fall in the 14th.
Okay, so in specifically, it is just for MAU to review this and come back with what we think might work, and talk to Tim and the rest of the people to see if they feel it could be incorporated within the middle school. Okay.
Fran?
Questions for Ken. Did anybody even question upstate that why are other states getting rid of the agency fee and we're dumb enough to have it? I mean, I just don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Okay, all right. Well, I just had to ask that question.
The VHB lobbied and said in just about every district during negotiations, it's a negotiation item on the table.
I just put you on both.
And this is something you're giving away that the school boards would like to still have control of.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't know that our lobbies are in their pocket.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to know if it was ever asked.
What is the fee you're talking about?
Agency fee. You're forced to pay an agency fee if you're a teacher.
$600 a year.
I think it means all the groups that join are under the contract.
Well, the problem is there's some people that
It's specific to the NEA. The ESP contract already has it in there.
Right.
The educational support staff.
And if you don't...
Some districts have opted out, like the Bennington custodians have opted out of that.
Right.
There's a question as to, who's going to opt out of this. Maybe everybody can be forced.
Well, the problem is I know some people that don't want to do it, but they're forced to pay it anyway. They've never signed anything, and they tell you that you have to have this. And that's wrong. And that's why I can't understand.
Well, Sean Marie said too, that's
Yeah,
$600.
that's totally ridiculous,
$500.
as far as I'm concerned, so.
I don't even want to tell you what it's going to bring in statewide, but you should call your
I'm sure it's over
representative.
$1 million.
You should call your representative and say,
I've done
state
that,
your
been there,
opinion.
done it.
We did
I've
address
done it
it with
face-to-face.
representatives.
And as the legislative committee, when the legislators came, we actually addressed it to them too, saying it was a bargaining piece that we wanted to
Yep.
keep. So- I was going to ask Donna that. I think
I don't know of a date. Is it-
it's not the usual date. I think it's, I don't know, I will send that out. And so if there's no others?
Make a motion to go to executive session.
Yes. For personnel and contract. So, Richard, by the time you gather all your stuff up, we're gonna, we'll be back.
So we have to go to a new site.
No, I don't.
Are you done?
I'm gonna, here. Oh, is it step 3 or step 2?
I thought it was step 3.
Okay, it is step 3, okay.
Say, I authorize the superintendent on behalf of the MAU board to take action on a grievance received.
I stamped when I got this.
That's the one that's live.
That's live? Okay.
Authorize on behalf of the, authorize.
Do you want to do it?
No. Well, just see if it makes sense.
Okay. Okay, are you ready?
All right, we're back in open session.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the superintendent on behalf of the MAU board to receive a grievance filed on March 5th, 2013.
Not,
To take action.
to take action
Take action.
on the grievance received on,
Let's see, let me
March
repeat that again. A motion to have the superintendent take action on a grievance filed March 5th, 2013.
So moved.
on behalf of MAU. You got that, Richard?
Yeah, he's got that.
It's March 5th, right?
Right, March 5th. March. Done.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded that?
Who's here?
I second.
Brandon. Okay. No, Brandon.
I third it.
Summary.
Oh, I need a motion to adjourn. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Al.